Okay, hello everyone, what's up? Smokey here, and I'm here with another video, and today I want to share my take on Penance brand of Dissipation. This is the new, apparently super overpowered skill that everyone is using, basically, and I have built a level 94 character in Affliction SSF, and I just want to share with you guys today how I built this character, my experiences playing this character, and then I'll also show some bossing footage, and I'll also go over the PoE. So this is not going to be like a build guide video specifically, because I don't know if the way that I built this character is optimal. Like, I don't know if this character is the best version that this build could be. This is just what I put together given what I found in SSF. So I would not recommend you to copy this specific build, but I would rather want to present this as how I made this character work and how I took this character to an uber viable level in a very short amount of playtime. In fact, I was able to do Ubers with this build on 16 hours of playtime, and I could have done the other ones too, but I played really badly. But, you know, this build's really good. I think this build's definitely going to get nerfed next league. I think Penance brand of Dissipation does way too much damage for like, you know, the amount of investment that you can put into it. But yeah, so this video is just going to be me talking about my experience playing this build, and maybe give some tips and tricks as well. So first of all, I want to show you guys the bossing footage. And for those of you who don't know about how the skill works, basically the normal Penance brand, every time you put the brand on an enemy, it gains energy. And then when it reaches maximum energy, it detonates and deals damage. However, Penance brand of Dissipation is different. Rather than waiting until the end to detonate, every time it gains energy, it deals damage. And then the more energy it has, the more damage it deals, right? Pulses deal 60% more damage with hits per energy after the first. So if you can get a large amount of activation frequency and cast speed, you can basically scale this to a ridiculous degree of damage. So let me just show you guys like the bossing footage so you guys can see like what the build can do, like given, you know, my level of investment into it. So this is just going to be footage taken directly from, you know, 2 streams ago where I was doing Ubers with this and Feared. So here, this is the build doing Feared. Ignore my AI VTuber blocking the screen, but this is the build against a white Feared. Let me turn on sound for y'all. So, as you can see, I'm just running around casting the brand. This is the maximum single target setup. And as you can see, the enemy's health, like I just removed Elder's health in like half a second, right? Like look at Shaper's health, it's just going down. And then just like watch how much damage this deals, right? Like I'm just moving around casting the brand and everyone's just suddenly dead, right? Like look at that, that was crazy, right?
Fucking shit.
Sorry. Isn't that crazy? Like the damage is just completely insane. Like, I think I've never had this much DPS before ever on a build in SSF. This is like a first for me. Like, it's definitely very exciting to have a build with this much damage. And yeah, let me show you guys the Ubers now. So that was Feared. You know, this build made a total joke out of Feared. I did it in like 5 seconds. This is Uber Exarch. As you can see, the fight just started and he's already like losing all his HP. And then, you know, that Minotaur is usually really tanky, but this build killed it in like 1 second, right? Definitely unhinged amounts of damage. And I'm really bad, so I can't survive these ball phases, but it's okay because I got carried by damage. I'll just skip ahead. Oh, here I died again. Oh, and I'm going to die again here. The survivability on this build is definitely not very good, but the damage definitely makes up for it. All right, see, this Exarch has like 30% health remaining, right? I only have 2 portals left here. But as you can see, the damage is just enough even for a bad player like me to do Ubers. Like, watch his life. Here I'm just dodging random shit. All right. Look at his life. Look at his life. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? That's unhinged, right? All right. And then can do more Ubers. All right, this is my failed attempt at killing Uber Cirrus. I did not win in this fight, but at least y'all can see like how fast this build can phase him. I ended up just dying a lot to like really bad deaths. Like I ran into the storms a couple times and I died in the final phase, which caused me to respawn, and then I wasn't able to get back into the arena without dying. And mostly a skill issue, but just watch the damage of this build, right? So here, Uber Cirrus is spawning.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he's phased already.
Insta-phase, very good.
He got phased in 5 seconds. So like as you can see, the damage is definitely pretty good. And here again, phased very quickly. I wish I had like more clean footage, but you get the idea. And then this is a Cortex. I also did not survive this fight. I died in this fight a lot of times, but at least you can see that the damage is like pretty decent. So yeah, as you can see here, all right, this is like a Cortex phase, right? Look at the damage. All right, so I'm just casting the brand. And another thing that's good about this build is that the playstyle is very safe. You can just like sit back and like throw the brands and then it just does damage. Like I mean, I died there because, you know, I'm bad, but the damage of the build is fairly high. So yeah, you can see definitely decent amount of damage coming in. And then I unfortunately ripped the final phase, but yeah. This one also had increased AoE, which was really bad. I don't even know what I died to there, but yeah. And then this is Uber Maven. All right, let's do Uber Maven. Or wait, we can show this one as well. This is a Guardian invitation. This is formed. This is formed with like 50 quant or something. As you can see, look at that. The Guardian died in like 1 second. Look at that. That one died in like half a second. I died because that was bad. There, Minotaur died in like half a second. Hydra died in half a second. So yeah. And then let me show you guys the Uber Maven, because this fight I think I did without dying. Or maybe I died like 1 time, but this is a level 85 Uber Maven. By the
beam, I'm dead.
And as you can see, the damage is definitely uber viable. And what this build lacks in survivability, it makes up for in damage. So yeah, it took me like only 5 seconds to do this. And this is also without Heat Shiver. I ended up finding a replica Heat Shiver, which is pretty huge for my damage on an Inquis, but in this video I did not have replica Heat Shiver. But as you can see, I'm reaching 50% shock on the brain. If you see my mouse hover over the brain, or I want you to like pay attention to the shock effect. This is an Uber boss and I have 50% shock effect. And like these little things just don't even matter. And this is Uber Maven too. So like, you know, normally those things would be pretty tanky, but for this build it's no problem. Alright, so watch the shock effect on Uber Maven, right? Fuck! Alright, here I got touched by the beam, but I actually survived somehow. Oh no, I'm fucked! Oh, oh my god, I'm alive. Oh my god, I'm still alive. Look at that, 50% shock on Uber Maven. 50%! That's so unhinged.
Holy fuck, I can't believe I survived that.
So like, if I put on Replica Heat Shiver, this build would gain like 25% more damage, right? Because it's Inquis, and like all elemental resistance is negated. And like, you know, you can see the brain, 50% shock on the brain. Totally unhinged.
Damage is fucking crazy though.
Like, I have never played a build with like this much damage before.
Okay, up, left, right. Up, left, right, up, left, right. Up, left, right, up, left, right.
And yeah, so, you know, once again...
Oh, fuck!
Alright, I died there. That was really dumb.
I didn't think it would come out that fast. That's alright, though.
Yeah, you never know. Sometimes things just don't come out fast enough.
Oh, that's so bad.
But yeah, it's okay, because the damage is high.
That's so fucking dog shit. Alright, it's fine, though.
Alright, so you guys get the point. But yeah, I've been able to kill 4 out of 7 Ubers. I think if I played better, I could have killed Sirius and Cortex as well. But I didn't play very well, so... I did not kill them. But... I definitely want to see if I can get 7 out of 7 Ubers on this build.
Dog shit.
It's definitely possible. Oh yeah, here I choose the phase. We don't have to watch that. Soft core strats.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I'm
The
bad.
downside is that the defense of this variant is extremely low. But I think this build is powerful enough to where you could build it like very defensive as well. You would probably lose like a lot of damage if you built this defensively.
Get that ass cold.
Look at that, like the damage is pretty good, right? And then, oh, I want to show one more fight, Uber Eater. Or this is Uber Shaper. This fight takes a while. I'll just do the final phase, but... Wait.
Oh, toxic.
Alright, final phase, Uber Shaper. You can definitely build this build a lot more tankier because the damage is so high that, like, I think you can, you know, still have very good damage with a tanky version of this build.
So bad.
But I chose to
That
make
was
this build like as
terrible.
class cannon as I could. I just wanted to get like the
Okay.
maximum damage out of it personally.
Oh fuck! I also
so-
forgot to swap the gems. Alright. It's fine. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I don't know
fuck
what
is
happened with
this?
this phase. Sometimes this phase bugs out.
No!
That's really cringe.
I'm trash.
I'm also a bad player and I
One
can't
portal.
dodge
All
the
I have
ball
to do
phase.
is
But it doesn't
win.
matter
All I
because the
have to
damage
do
is like so
deal
high.
damage right now.
Um,
1, 2, 3. Let's go.
As you can see, look at his health bar. This is Uber Shaper. Look at that health bar just go down. It's
Uber
crazy.
viable.
And I also did Uber Eater, sorry, at the very end. I'll show you guys that fight as well.
Good. Oh yeah, you can ask it after this fight. I'm happy to answer.
Also, sorry
Deep
if my
breath.
voice is like
Guys,
out today.
This might not go very well.
I don't know. Every time I like come back home after a full day of work, I just feel like so tired and my voice is just like destroyed. Also, maybe I streamed too much recently, but yeah. All right, so this is
wasted my flasks.
Uber Eater. Uber Eater.
Ah!
This is the easiest Uber.
Oh.
You can just like dodge everything manually. Just cast Assassin's Mark, cast 2 brands. Make sure you always have 2 brands active, always. And one good thing about this build is that even when he's doing Hunger, you can still have pretty good damage. Because like you don't have to be in melee range or anything.
Fuck.
So you can have like very good damage even when the boss is like doing phases that a normal build, you know, might not be able to DPS during.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
I don't even know the mechanics of this build, but you can just completely
my bad,
cheese
I
it
guess.
with
I don't
damage.
really know what happened there. There was a tentacle in my way and I can't tank it.
Yeah. You just cast the brands, and then cast Assassin's Mark.
Huh!
Sorry. Yeah, the damage is more than enough to do this, even with my bad mechanics. And if you're playing this in Trade League, you can
Alright.
get even more
And
damage.
yes, I have to make this.
Like,
sound
I was just
effect.
doing whatever I could have in SSF. Like, this build isn't even, like, super optimized, which just goes to show, like, how broken... Yeah, like, I don't
Dude,
even know
this
how to
is so
play
dumb.
this game.
This build has no
but-
chance of surviving any of the phases.
Like, I don't even know how to
I
play
just
this
have to
game,
deal
but it's, like,
damage.
enough to do Ubers, because it's so broken. It's definitely getting nerfed next league. I was saying it might even get nerfed this league, because it's so broken. Like, the All right,
There's
well,
no
I'm
way
just
I
being bad
dodged
here.
into that, dude. That's so cringe.
It just seemed, the damage just seems
Alright, this is
really
really easy
high.
though
Like
for
someone
my
forgot a
damage.
0 somewhere.
Yeah. It's like not
Yeah,
even a challenge. I
Uber
can play so
valuable.
bad and it
There's
doesn't
me
even
getting
matter.
the challenge. Okay, enough of that. Now I can talk about the actual build. Okay, so that was some footage of Feared and like Ubers and stuff. And now I will talk about POB, and then after this I'll talk about like my experiences leveling the character. Like as you guys can tell, this character is only 23 hours of playtime, and like 8 of it was like after the video they just saw. So like I was basically doing Ubers on this build in 16 hours of playtime. So let me show you guys like the tree first, and then I'll talk about leveling. So this is basically the end game setup that I imported like 5 minutes ago from my character. And this is practically exactly the same setup I used in the VOD before. The only exception is that I have Heat Shiver, replica Heat Shiver here, when I did not have this in the VOD. So my damage in this POB is going to be like a quarter higher than what you saw in the video. But everything else is the same. So let me just go over the main ideas of this build. So Penance Brand is a brand skill. So to scale this, we want to scale, spell damage, lightning damage, physical damage, and also like +1 lightning and +1 fizz, as well as brand damage. This is a pretty straightforward Inquisitor build. This is not like my original idea. This is like a very standard template of Inquis. Basically, you take this, and then you can ignore the enemy's res, and then you can use Assassin's Mark with the crit build to get, really high crit. And then this node here allows you to scale your crit chance very high. So I have like 98% crit chance with my flasks up. And then since we have like free crit chance and free, penetration, we're able to just get like a large amount of multi. Like I have 553 multi. And, most of that is coming from Throat Seeker and Arcane Potency. I have multi on my amulet, and I'm not even running increased critical damage, and I have that much multi. It also helps that it's a brand skill, because you can take, this wheel, which gives you multi. And yeah, so that's the main idea of this build, just, penetrating enemy resistance, crit, Inquis build. And then because you're an Inquis and you have Sanctuary and Pious Path, you're able to sustain Righteous Fire, which allows you to gain 39% more spell damage, right? And then you also put yourself on low life and then use Pain Attunement for another 30% more spell damage multiplier. And then since you take Runebinder, you can have 2 brands in total attached to an enemy. So we set these to 2. And then you also have to set this count to 2, because 2 brands are hitting at once. And then that's basically the build. And then for auras, it's just I'm using Purity of Elements mostly because of using Annihilating Light. Like this staff is just really busted for damage. Like dealing triple damage is just so crazy. And there's like not even a downside, because we have like crit chance for free because of Inquis. And, the triple damage is just ridiculous. And then it makes gearing really easy as well. Like all you have to do is put on Herald of Purity of Elements, and then just like get life and res on all of your gear. And then also I was able to fit in Wrath and Zealotry for more damage. And then Vitality and Herald of Purity with Arrogance, in addition to 20% life reservation mastery to get just below 50% life and proc Pain Attunement, basically. And then, yeah, you don't need Enlighten. I just happen to have it. If you didn't have Enlighten, you could just, like, get a little bit more reservation somewhere. Probably just by swapping out Heat Shiver for a rare and then getting reservation as, like, implicit or explicit or something. But using this Enlighten allowed me to get replica Heat Shiver. I guess you could also not anoint counterweight. And just like anoint reservation as well. Like you only lose like 10% of your damage if you don't anoint this. But yeah, I just happen to have enlighten, so I used it. And then for movement, I'm just using like leap slam and like frost blink. It's not optimal because this staff is really slow, but you know, better than nothing. And I also was able to fit in level 1 clarity and precision, which you don't need, but I just happen to have it, so. And then cast 1 damage, immortal call. And then Penance brand is just linked to, well, it's mandatory to link this to faster casting and swift brand, just so you can stack the energy and get the more damage multiplier with pulses. And then for single target, I'm using concentrated effect. And then I also happen to have awakened added lightning, which gives me +1 level in addition to a lot of flat damage. And then inspiration is also really important, helps you cap the crit chance, gives you more multiplier, and then also reduces your mana cost, which is important. And this is like not even 21. If this was 21, I would have like another 10% more damage, but yeah, it's 20. And then yeah, the tree is basically pretty straightforward for a brand character. It's just elemental damage. I take this wheel to help sustain Righteous Fire. I don't even know if I need this. Okay, so PoB says I don't even need this, but I found it like good to take anyway. But yeah, you don't have to take this if you have more recovery. And then other than that, it's pretty standard. Just crit, elemental damage, and stuff. Cast speed, lightning damage, and so on and so forth. And then, you know, just take like life and energy shield as well. And then for my ascendancy, I decided to go with the charm ascendancy. The most important charms, in my opinion, well, the single most important charm is this one, allowing you to gain a frenzy charge on hit, because it's actually pretty hard to gain frenzy charges on a character like this. If you didn't have this charm, you would probably go for a double, like an Awakener Orb chest that has like power charge on crit and like frenzy charge effect, or 10% chance to gain frenzy charge on hit. But since you can just take this charm to gain frenzy charges on hit, you can not use an influence chest and just go for like Eldritch Implicits, which is really good. Helps you get a lot more, you know, more damage multiplier and crit multi on the implicits. And then also, you know, even though this is only 8% chance to gain a frenzy on hit, like if you have 2 brands in the enemy, you're going to be hitting so fast that you're basically always going to be at maximum frenzies, which is like 3 in this case. And then power charges you are getting on Assassin's Mark with the quality, 5% chance, which is pretty low, but, you know, again, this brand hits really fast, so you're basically always at maximum power charges. And then my second one here is Culling Strike. It's also pretty difficult to get Culling Strike on this build, so getting Culling Strike on a charm is just like straight up like 11% more damage. And I'm also using this charm, which I think is also important on single target. This one is important because it gives me 40% increased effect of non-damaging ailments, and that just helps push the shock value to 50 consistently. And if you have Heat Shiver, that is even more important because that would give you extra cold damage as well per shock effect. So those are the 3 charms that I opted for. Frenzy on hit, Culling Strike, and non-damaging ailment effect. And then, yeah, that's basically the build. I don't know how accurate this damage is. This is just whatever damage PoB is giving me with the new Penance brand of Dissipation. I don't know how accurate this is. 65 million seems really high, but as you can see in the video, it was actually like a lot of damage. So maybe it's this, maybe it's a little bit less. I don't know, but yeah. And then another thing you can do to optimize your damage is to use enkindling orbs on your flasks. You can either decide to go for increased effect or increased duration. I just chose to go for increased duration just for consistency, but you could obviously get more damage if you enchant these with increased flask effect. And then yeah, the diamond flask is important for crit chance, you know, silver flask for cast speed, And then I just have like a random flask here with cast speed on it, and then Quicksilver just with movement so you can dodge. And the life flask is just bleed immune. And then, yeah. Oh yeah, and then for the Eldritch Implicits, I just went with Unnerve. Unnerve is important. And then I also decided to go for Converted to Lightning, because Penance Brand converts 50% to Lightning by default. And then to avoid running, in order to avoid running Fizz as extra Lightning, I decided to get the 40% conversion here on Lightning Mastery, and then get 10% on my gloves here. Another thing you could do is benchcraft 25% converted on your glove prefix. And then instead of getting Fizz converted to Lightning on the implicit, you could go for lightning damage leeched as life, because the brand can leech damage to you. So that would like help out survivability. But I didn't have, I just didn't happen to get that in SSF, but yeah, whatever. And then Unnerve is just a, damage multiplier, so it's good. And the boot implicits are also really important. Fizz as extra lightning is just more damage, and then action speed as well, just more damage. And then, yeah, for the body, I just went with, crit multi and then, some aura effect. And then another interesting thing to talk about with this build is how do you sustain Righteous Fire? So basically there's like two ways you can do it with Inquis. Because you want to get value out of Pious Path, right? Consecrated Ground allows you to regenerate life and ES. And there's basically two ways to do it. Way number one is what I'm doing right now, which is with Corrupted Soul. You can either get this with Replica Soul Tether, or you can get this using a Glorious Vanity Jewel. I just happened to have this, so I used it. But you could also just like get a Glorious Vanity and put it somewhere, I don't even know where. But I just happen to have Replica Soul Tether, so I used it. And then that allows me to split my damage 50-50 between life and ES, which allows me to get, double regen from Pious Path. Another thing you could do is to get Eldritch Battery. You get EB, and then you get MOM, which takes a couple more skill points, but that allows you to, split your damage between life and mana. And then since EB makes your energy shield protect mana, that's another good way to split your damage between life and ES. But you do have to spend a little bit more skill points to get that. Yeah, basically. And then, yeah, that's basically the entire build. I will link the POB of this in the description of this video. And then I guess the final thing I can talk about is like how I leveled this character so fast, like doing Ubers, just in 16 hours of gameplay. So this POB is for single target DPS only. That's important to note. This is not a mapping setup. It's going to be very, very painful to map with this setup. But when I was leveling, I did like, a lot of different, adjustments so that I could actually map with it. And before I get into this, let me just show you the mapping of this build. So let me show you all here. So I was leveling this character on the stream using a very, very specific mapping setup. And this is a tier 16 map. And as you can see, if you itemize this build for mapping, you are able to map pretty well. Let me just show you like the start of this map or whatever. So, all right, here you're just like, jumping around, you're casting the brand. You have a lot of area of effect if you spec into it. And then if you have impulses, which I got really lucky with, you can actually achieve a pretty good amount of clear. The survivability is a bit low, but all you need to do is cast the brand like at the edge of the screen, and then you can like instantly kill whatever enemy comes in, right? So it's actually not that bad to map with if you itemize for it. Like as you can see, this is pretty comfy, and the brand is auto-targeting. And I'll also explain like how you can itemize this build for mapping. So as you can see, it's pretty good, right? It's pretty good. And this is the 4-link, by the way. This is like 4-link in mapping, and the damage is like so good that it doesn't even matter So yeah, here I'll just like showcase
stop
the
blinking
boss,
forward when
and then
I don't
I'll go
have
back to
vision.
POB.
God
This
damn
is
it,
the
don't believe
Impulsa
that
setup with area of effect scaling with a 4-link. So yeah, as you can see, you know, it's not that bad to map with. It's not that bad. It's only bad to map with if you don't spec into a mapping setup. But yeah, you know, it's not bad, right? And then yeah, here is the map boss. As you can see, you know, Assassin's Mark, 2 brands, and it's dead. No problem. Okay, so for the mapping setup, here's what I would recommend. So I have these notes in POB. So the most important thing for mapping, in my opinion, is to use impulsas if you have it. You know, the clear from impulsas, the explode, just really helps a lot. But then in order to enable this, you have to be sure to take the lightning mastery that gives you shock prolif. And then the impulsa will give you really good clear. So that's the first step. And you know, if you don't have a 6-link impulsa, it's fine. You can use a 5-link impulsa. I was using a 4-link with like increased AoE support as my 5th link, and it's just totally fine because the damage is like so busted. I would also recommend swapping concentrated effect for increased area of effect. If you have awakened AoE, that's even better because you have like more, you know, more multiplier there. But I just used the normal version and it was fine. And then I would also recommend on the tree speccing out of Throatseeker and taking Blast Radius and Amplify. So that would look like this. Take off these, and then you take Blast Radius and you take Amplify. It's a very clean swap. It only costs you 5 regrets, and this allows you to get a lot more AoE. So that's like totally good to do. And then you just swap back to this setup for the more multi on single target. I would also recommend taking the brand mastery. You can cast 2 additional brands. And then as I mentioned, the shock prolif for Impulsa, or you know, just in general, it might even be good. Because the 2 additional brands does nothing for a single target, but it's really good for mapping. I would also recommend swapping out your shock effect charm, because you don't really need shock effect in maps, because you know the damage is like so high. I would recommend swapping out that one for power charge on crit, because like you're not going to be casting Assassin's Mark in maps, right? So getting like a power charge on crit charm would like help you get more crit chance in mapping. And then I would also recommend taking off Herald of Purity and Righteous Fire. If you take off these things, you will increase your life pool, and you would also increase your regen. And you do lose low life if you do this, and you do lose the 40% more damage multiplier from Righteous Fire. But like the damage is like so high that it doesn't even matter. And, you know, for mapping, I want like my life pool to be as big as possible because, you know, the build has like no defense, right? So like if I take off Righteous Fire and if I take off, you know, Herald of Purity, you know, I actually have like a relatively high life pool. It's like 3,500 life with 2,000 ES with Corrupted Soul. So all my damage is like split between life and ES, except for Chaos. Well, and like that's a problem because I don't have Chaos Res, but you know, Glass Cannon build, right? So yeah, and then you can also swap out the Enkindling flasks with a set of flasks that have use when charges reach full. That definitely helps out mapping as well. And then as for like leveling in early acts, I just did like, you know, typical Inquis leveling strat. I used Lightning Tendrils and Orb of Storms until 12, Stormbrand with Lightning Tendrils until 28, and then after just, you know, Penance Brand of Dissipation. And then it was just Penance Brand of Dissipation from 28 all the way to like level 91 or something. And I basically used this setup here to get to 90. And then to get from 90 to like 94, I basically did Sanctums because this build is really, really good at Sanctum. Like I can even showcase some Sanctum footage later. It can insta-phase Lycia, it has enough damage for that. And, you know, it kills guards basically instantly because the damage is so high. And then you just do Sanctums until like 94, and then you can just like do bosses, you can do Ubers after, you can do whatever you want basically. And I can like showcase, you know, this is just Sanctum.
Altogether.
As you can see, you know, the guards practically die instantaneously in Sanctum, right? It's like super nice. And it's also cool because it's a brand skill. So like you can even do like Infernum, you know, with ease. The guards just die as soon as they spawn. And the damage is like very, very front loaded on this build. So it's a complete pleasure to do Sanctum on this build, as you can see. And then let me see if I can show you guys the Lycia kill. Alright, we have Lycia coming soon here. Alright, here we go. Alright, this is final phase Lycia. And I want you to see the damage and how this build can insta-phase her in Sanctum. You just put the 2 brands, put Assassin's Mark.
Okay.
Brand, Assassin's Mark.
Oh no!
Alright, well, oh my god, why am I screaming? Holy shit. Okay, well, that was embarrassing. I think this Sanctum had more monster life or whatever. Because this build usually can kill Lycia in like 2 seconds and you don't have to do this. I also was not using Replica Heat Shiver in this setup, so it was scuffed. But yeah, this build, like, it does 50% shock on Lycia. And, you know, you can usually insta-phase her with or without dagger or, you know, boons. But yeah, it's totally fun to do Sanctum on this build. You can do Ubers on this build. But yeah. Okay, so that's a video. I hope, you know, someone may have learned something from my take on Penance brand of Dissipation. I think the skill is busted. Again, I want to emphasize that this is not like necessarily an optimal way to play this build. This is just like my version of the build that I put together, and this build like fits my playstyle. And I was able to take this build to do, you know, I was able to take this build to an uber viable level of power. And I think I was somewhat carried by, you know, the skill. But I would say the way that I built this character was also pretty solid for my playstyle. Again, I would not recommend copying this build. You know, this is not like a build guide or anything, but this is more a showcase of like what you can do with Stormbrand of Dissipation. If you want to build like a single target build this league, I would highly recommend building around Penance brand of Dissipation. I think the damage is like abnormally high for, you know, what it is. It's definitely going to be nerfed next league, so play it this league if you can. Yeah, it's a fun build. And that's it. I will link the POB in the description. I also stream on Twitch sometimes at Smokey_777 if you want to check it out. It's basically me and my AI streaming. This is Luna, my AI. She like sits here and talks. And yeah, that's it. Stormbrand of Dissipation. Penance brand of Dissipation. Penance brand. Yep.